So, I would say this would be the very first time in my high school career that I've publicly talked about my art in front of a large group of people. This means I've somehow gotten away with not ever having my art critiqued in class, so why not start now in front of an even larger crowd? Making art has always been a very sacred and personal part of my life that has always and continues to be difficult for me to understand and articulate. For a majority of my life, I've always carried around a heavy amount of shame and self-consciousness of not being taken seriously when I should have been. I've struggled with feelings of illegitimacy, struggled with claiming ownership in my life, and not feeling worthy of my art. I guess an easier way to translate that is that in a way I was afraid to face what my art meant to me. I didn't want to humiliate myself talking about it, let alone I didn't want to take myself seriously because I wasn't ever put into that position in my life, so I didn't really know how to act that way for myself. Dealing with those certain moments in the background put me in a specific place with my art in the earlier stages, which created a strong core for me in my work. I used art to present myself in a way I viewed myself in my head, which were multiple different versions of myself that the world didn't get to see. This is most significant to me because the view of myself changes drastically over time. My art, which is entirely some form of self-portraits in whichever chosen medium, documents my personal growth, experiences, thoughts, feelings, and traumas. Constantly producing work has served as a form of communication and has better helped me understand the relationship I have with myself and how I react to the world around me, which can complicate at times. It has also served as a tool for recovery and coping, exiting and revisiting a world entirely dedicated to me, about myself. Making art where I'm the main representation is what feels natural to me, but until this year I had not realized what I was doing. Since I illustrate many self-portraits, over time, my overall art style, particularly the style of my faces, will evolve. I feel as if certain circumstances intertwined in my life take a large part in my art and gets reflected into it. I'd like to say that I strongly identify with the expressions shown in my work. The kinds of illustrations I draw now seem to be more somber, subdued, and pensive, but still magnifying on the intensity of those feelings through my drawings. Comparing my work now through the 11th grade reflect more violent, aggressive, and contemptuous emotions which unveiled what I was going through at the time given the certain condition of my life, which was, for example, corrupting moments of deep hatred for myself and the world around me, and how it all felt so phony and muffled, and a pretty troubling, upsetting, and emotionally draining home environment. Just gonna flip through these. One project in particular that was very important to me was one I was developing since the 10th grade. It was probably one of the most emotional and honest pieces of works I've ever made for myself. Long story short, I had a lot of deeply embedded insecurities about myself that I slowly accumulated throughout my lifetime, and it was constantly eating me up. It was a problem which felt like the longest time, a problem that felt like there was no way out of. I had a very intense hate for myself, and I couldn't bear anything about myself. It was almost as if I was humiliated of my whole being, and I would constantly ridicule myself about it in my head. I would remember some really deep lows. When I was very hard on myself and mean to myself, I would take it out on my skin, on my face, and constantly scratch and pick at it, which turned into an even larger insecurity and started to take form as the main focus of my problems. I was so consistent on the idea of desperately trying to change my appearance, the appearance of my face. It turned into an obsession. I was so fascinatingly disgusted with my face, I started drawing myself in this warped, distorted, over-exaggerated, oversaturated, vulgarly twisted view of myself and what I thought I looked like. And it was basically what I felt. I basically documented the mutilation of my deteriorating self-esteem over the course of 2 years. I'd keep trying to make these repetitive drawings, but I was never really proud or fulfilled by them. I tried this style with many different mediums and messed around with it to try and achieve what I wanted, but I was always underwhelmed by them. Eventually, the month before Portfolio Day, I made 10 38 by 49 watercolor and pencil crayon self-portraits, and I finally felt accomplished with my 2-year-long expedition to find acceptance, knowledge, and love for myself. And in a way, this helped me feel comfortable again in my skin, because these works were a confrontation with me, and also viewers, of how I used to view myself personally during the time I was most vulnerable, and in a way, it helped me move forward. On a lighter note, fashion design is totally different topic, is something that I've always had a strong interest in, but I just fully immersed myself into it this year. My designs are very much heavily influenced by my illustrations compared to what I see on the runway, etc. These designs have a lot to do with what my art is all about, but it's just another edition of it. My goal right now is to create garments as a continuation of my illustrations as something 3D and photographing them inhabiting a space, making it their own. Okay. I live vicariously through the feelings I draw as different versions of myself that the world does not get to see. These different versions are versions that I've grown in and out of over time, and it visually reveals a world I built and assembled for myself. I'm endlessly growing into a new version of myself. My work expresses the constant, repetitive, obsessive cycles of euphoric emotions I feel and how I adapt to them. My never-ending practice will always be expanding alongside of me, transforming and blooming into different styles and ideas, and I value it very much because it is an extension of myself. I find it fulfilling that my work reveals aspects of my suffering, contentment, bliss, rage, etc. that revisits me every now and then. This is a version of myself that I'm finally comfortable sharing with the world. To end this, I'd like to thank my family for supporting me, my friends who I love. Thank you for being there for me at my worst. I'm so grateful for you. You know who you all are. Without your, without your endless gratitude and presence, I wouldn't be the same person I am today. One friend in particular I'd like to mention and thank is my artistic muse, Holly McLaughlin, who took me under her wing while we were both going through a similar thing, and I love you so much. Lastly, thank you, Mr. Very, Mr. Novak, and Ms. Raymond for making everything first possible and making my last year absolutely incredible. And thank you, everyone who helped me for Portfolio Day.